Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Universalist Church. My name is Jen Crow. My pronouns are she and her, and it is a privilege to get to serve as senior minister here. It's also a privilege to get to lead worship today with Nico Van Ostrand, our Cummins Ministerial Intern, with Reverend Ashley Harness, with Jay Albright, and members of our choir who are leading us in our singing. We're grateful also, as always, to John and Olu for making all of our tech work so we can be connected with one another, and also grateful to everyone who tends and cares for this space. Everyone from our ushers and greeters to flower arrangers and folks who make this space beautiful, and to each and every one of you who arrive here taking a risk on love and connection and the practice of beloved community. Thank you for being here this morning in person. Thanks to those who are joining us online. It's good to be together in all of the ways that we are. This is a community we create each time we gather. And whether this is your first time here or your 1,000th or more time here, we're so glad you made it to be with us this morning. This is a place and a space, a church community, where we lean into the Universalist understanding of our faith, which names each and every person as whole and holy and worthy, welcome and wanted, all of us with room to grow throughout our entire lives. This is a community of love and hope committed to practicing beloved community. Beloved community, which is a community of mutual thriving for each and every person, for the whole ecosystem of which we are a part. Beloved community that grows out of experiences of unconditional love that cannot help but transform us individually and collectively. This is who we are, this is what we are about here at church, and we're so glad that you are a part of it with us. Now, today, and really all of the days coming up, and maybe it's every day, is a special day here. Today in particular, I want to call out that Nico is the lead worship architect and preacher this morning, and we are approaching the close of their internship with us, which both is a huge success and sadness, I will admit, because I'm going to hate it when you're not here. And we are a teaching congregation, and part of what that means is that we welcome ministerial interns in the end of the summer or the fall when we're in one of those years, and then after a year of learning and growth, they move on in June usually into whatever the next chapter of their ministerial formation is. So that's coming up for Nico, and I just want to call out that June 14th is their final service with us, so keep on coming to make sure that you get that time. We're also in our final weeks of having Reverend Ashley with us as she prepares to move on to a different role in the larger community. Keep coming, get your time in together. Reverend Ashley's last service with us will be on June 7th. So to take a page from what Allison, our Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministries, invited us into during our experience with our coming of age youth, take some time to personally thank each of these folks. Let them know what specific thing has been a part of transformation for you and for our community. Like I said, be specific, be generous, be grateful. This is part of how we tend to one another in transition times, and it's part of how we as a congregation carry on the legacy and the gifts that we've been given, is by naming them and holding them close. So that is my invitation to you. Now this morning we're going to pull back the veil a little bit on how worship planning works here at First Universalist. I'm going to let you in on how things happen a little bit. So every Tuesday afternoon, the staff worship team and sometimes our worship associates or others join us, and we join together for an hour and a half of worship planning. This is a chance for us both to look back at what went well, do some spotting, and then look ahead to the worship services that are coming up. We also take time to wrestle together with some of the big theological questions that we think you might be wrestling with as well. But one of the things we've learned, and we know is true, is that we can't be a channel or create the kind of space for transformation and the experience of love that we hope for here unless we have that ourselves. And so at the beginning of each worship team meeting, we take a significant amount of time to come into rhythm with ourselves as individuals, and then to come into rhythm with each other as a worship leadership body. So I'm going to invite you into this practice with us collectively today. We come into rhythm with ourselves by starting with about 5 minutes of quiet. This can be used any way that folks want to on the worship team. Sometimes it's a movement practice. Sometimes it's that intentional breathing that we do here. Sometimes it's, oh, I forgot to tend to my body. I better go get a cup of water. Whatever it is for each of us, we take that 5 minutes to connect with ourselves and our bodies and its wisdom. Then we take some time to connect with each other. We call it check-in, and it is both simple and profound. It's an opportunity to take a centering question that's offered by one member of the team and for each of us to engage with it, to say a little bit out loud if we want to, and as always, if the question isn't the right one for us, to simply pass or to ask and answer the right question for ourselves. We do that with deep listening to one another. So these are the two ways that we come into rhythm with ourselves first and then with each other. And I'm going to invite us into that here. So the first invitation is into that intentional breathing that we talk about and experience often here. Again, do whatever is right for you and your body. I'm going to offer suggestions. I'm taking a moment to notice my feet on the floor, to literally tap them up and down, to feel my feet. Taking a moment to lift my shoulders up and drop them back as a way to open up my chest and maybe invite that deeper breath. And then I'm going to take 3 intentional breaths, breathing deeply in through my nose and then slowly, slowly out through my mouth, as if I'm blowing up a balloon. Thank you. That's coming into rhythm with ourselves. Now, as we move into rhythm with each other, I'm going to invite us into that check-in time. So the invitation will be, if you'd like, this is the space you're in just a moment to find someone else in the sanctuary to talk with, to introduce yourself, share your name and your pronouns. And then to share, if this is the right question for you, what is one way that you come into rhythm with yourself, with someone else, with the earth? And your invitation includes, please make sure everyone is welcomed into this practice who wants to be. Let's not leave anybody out of the circle. And of course, if you are not in a space where you're wanting to Look at us coming into rhythm with each other. Let's welcome these words from Rebecca A. Edmiston Lang. Come in. Come into this place which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together we make it a holy place. And in this place, we remember the hopes and promises that keep us together. And I invite you to join in saying with me the words for our chalice lighting, if you wish. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
My name is Nico, and my pronouns are he or they, and I would like to invite anyone who'd like to come up for a story to come up front. Maybe that is kids, maybe that is folks who want to see what is going on this little table up here a little closer. Maybe it's folks who just need a little wiggle break to come up front. Come on down for this story. There's room on the front pew, because nobody likes to sit in the very front for some reason. There's room on the floor. Welcome, welcome. Come on down. So as you make your way down, This is a Zen story that is adapted by Sarah Conover in Kindness, a Treasury of Buddhist Wisdom for Children and Parents. About a century and a half ago in Japan, there lived a Zen Buddhist teacher named Nanin. One day, a university professor came to call on Nanin at the temple because he wanted to learn more about Zen. Come in for some tea," said Nanin, leading the professor into a tea room. They sat across from each other at a small bare table, and for a long time, the old master sat in silence, perfectly at ease. Sometimes he smiled at the professor warmly, at other times he gazed out the window at the beauty of the gardens. But the professor grew more and more uncomfortable with the silence. He squirmed, he tapped his fingers nervously, he looked around for the tea to arrive. He was getting very antsy in this silence. Until finally, the professor found this silence to be completely unbearable. And so he began to fill the silence by doing what he did best. The professor cleared his throat and began to recite a lecture on Buddhism that he'd just given at the university. Now, the old master, Nanin, made a fine audience. He nodded in a friendly way at the most outstanding points and seemed to have a look of unending curiosity. So the professor kept on talking. After half an hour or so, no tea had arrived, and the professor was still talking, so wrapped up in his speech that he had completely forgotten about the tea and even the purpose of his visit. He was so consumed by his own lecture, in fact, that he didn't even notice when at last an attendant brought out an elegant tray with a ceremonial teapot and 2 cups for the 2 teachers. The professor lectured on, kept talking and talking while Nanin smiled and deliberately picked up the teapot and began pouring some tea in one of the teacups. He poured and poured and poured and kept pouring until the water spilled all over the table. "What are you doing?" said the professor, finally realizing what was going on. "Can't you see this cup has overflowed?" Well, Nanin looked kindly at his visitor and replied, "Just like the cup, Professor, you are overflowing. Let us first empty our cups, and then together we can learn." Thank you. Thanks for coming up for the story. You may go back to your seats. Thanks. Oh, goodness.
Good morning, beloveds. My name is Reverend Ashley. I use she, her pronouns. And for just a couple more weeks, I get to call myself one of your ministers. Thank you to those of you who have reached out with tenderness in this time of transition, especially as my family and I went down for the count with a pretty horrendous kid virus immediately after the news broke. Never a dull moment in parenting. And it seems our bodies know what we need. My body stopped me in my tracks and made me rest for about 10 days. As I was grumpily texting Jen about yet another day I thought I probably needed to miss at work, she said with kindness, "I think this is what we call the spiritual practice of surrender." My response was a word I'm not allowed to say from the pulpit. To which she said, "I know. It's my least favorite practice too." As the reading this morning says, come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. And beloveds, we cannot celebrate what is human if we do not surrender to the full reality of what that means, to the language our bodies and not just our hyper-developed prefrontal cortexes might be speaking. So find your way to listen to your body's wisdom for a bit right now. Feel the pew holding you up, the ground under your feet, the breath moving like waves lapping at a shoreline in your very being. I invite you to take 3 intentional breaths to let your spirit catch up to your body for full presence this morning. To this space some of us call prayer, I invite you to bring your celebrations, your sadness, your worry, your hope. Share your sorrows and joys out loud, and I'll repeat the words back to the congregation. You can also put them in the chat, and I will read them aloud. And then we'll respond together in the words of Dr. Glenn Thomas Rideout, "You are not alone. We are holding it together." The circle is open. Let us pray.
For my grandma, she navigates life after my grandfather's death.
For your grandmother, as she navigates life after your grandfather's death. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For your sister, whose son was killed by a distracted driver 12 years ago today. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For all of us in rehab and your uncle, may you know you are not alone. We are holding it together.
For my sister who had eye surgery on Thursday.
For your sister who had eye surgery on Thursday. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
For all the teachers who are in the last stretch, which is the worst.
For all the teachers in the last stretch that is the worst, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For all of the parents, your turn. And I would add, for all of the parents, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For all the kids, you are not alone. We are holding it together.
I'm thinking of all the young people especially
for the young people who are leaving the nest, and for all of us who are finding the way to leave the nest. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
Camping trips that take everyone out of my house for 4 days. I am alone.
Karen, for camping trips that take everyone away, we give thanks and praise that you are alone and not holding it together. I feel that's so hard. For Doug online, it is so good to be here 3 years after a stroke that changed my life and all my expectations. Doug, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For Elizabeth and Jennifer, wrapping them in prayers. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For Marie online, where money is tight, food is expensive, there is no car. My body aches, and still I work to keep it all together. You are not alone, and we are holding it together. For your friend struggling with depression, and for all struggling with depression, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For the kid who was shot on Broadway Avenue this week, and all of those affected by that death. Death? Death. You are not alone. We are holding it together.
In gratitude for the funding for HCMC and
In gratitude for the funding of HCMC and all the healthcare workers there. You are not alone. We are holding it together. This Memorial Day weekend, we hold all who have died in the service of building the Always in Formation project of democracy, and those who have died at the hands of the systems of domination and supremacy that are stitched into our founding and history also. We honor this history. We honor the anniversary of George Floyd's murder this weekend. May all who are grieving know you are not alone. We are holding it together. Our hearts are with the beloveds of Phyllis Stenerson. A memorial service for her will be held at church on Saturday, June 20th at 2 p.m. May our love surround her family and friends in this time of loss. And may they all know you are not alone. We are holding it together. Our hearts grieve in solidarity with the beloveds of Doug Hannon, who died on Tuesday morning. Doug had a rare liver cancer and outlived his prognosis of 3 years by seeking and using every treatment possible. We hold his wife, Tiffany, and sons, Seamus and Redmond, in our hearts. May they each and all know, you are not alone. We are holding it together. And let us sing our prayers now with an encore of Spirit of Life.
Stirring
Each Sunday, we engage in the spiritual practices that bring our faith alive in the world. As in the Universalist spirit of love and hope, we give, receive, and grow. In this time of offering, of what I call our time of liberating our resources, we trust that when we all share what we have, we can all have what we need. And I remind us that this time and all times in community is a time not only to give, but to receive. If you are in a place where financial or spiritual care would help, please let us know. Speak to us after the service, send us an email. We have funds, we have ears, we have hearts here for you all as you move through the rhythms of need and offering. This is how we hold it together. This morning, our community offering goes to the 4th annual Totally Fabulous All Generations Queer Prom happening next Saturday, May 30th at Spring House Ministry Center. First Universalist is co-sponsoring for the 4th year in a row. Your gifts help celebrate the sacredness and fabulousness of our trans and queer communities and honor that trans and queer joy are resistance and a gift from the holy. Please give boldly. And speaking of joy as resistance, we invite you also to the gatherings over the course of this weekend and the festival in particular tomorrow at George Floyd Square to honor memory, to honor the life he lived before he was killed. Our morning offering will now be received.
As we continue to let you in on what happens during the week here at church, I want to tell you that you might think this sanctuary is empty all week long, but it isn't. It's full. Sometimes it's full of people, but more often it's full of memory, full of ancestors, and sometimes it's full of individuals too. For myself, I find my way up here at least once a week. It's a place to walk it out if there's something on my mind, or if I'm needing to just move my body in between meetings. And it's a place, too, where I come to remember that I'm part of a line longer than myself. It was just, it was probably 6, 7 years ago now when we started talking about our renovations for this building. And one of the elders of the church, Chuck Coskren, said to me, "You better not refinish these pews." And I was like, "Tell me about that." And he said, "You better not refinish these pews because so many hands have touched the tops of these pews." From the folks who were part of the Adath Jeshurun synagogue here, who held themselves up, held on to the backs of these pews, to generations now of First Universalist folks too. He said, "I want to see those handprints. I want to be able to see where it's worn and know that my hands are in the same places." When we're in this sanctuary, we join in this longer line that stretches past to present to future. So when I walk in here, it is a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice because for us, spiritual practice means something you do with intention, something you do with regularity, something that connects you to something larger than yourself. So walking in this space is a spiritual practice. One of the other spiritual practices here at First Universalist is the labyrinth. Now you see there's a labyrinth down there. We'll have some photos of an outdoor labyrinth. This is what they look like. But here at church, if you notice, we've got a labyrinth literally etched into the floor of the social hall. And there are events regularly where you can come and walk the labyrinth, or if walking doesn't work for you, where you can trace along. You can move into this spirally path, making your way, no attention needed for where you're going because you just keep following the path. In this spirally, twisty path, like I said, you can't make a wrong turn. You just follow the path till you reach the center, and then you turn and follow it back out again. Today, instead of listening to a piece of poetry or engaging in a reading together, we're going to do the labyrinth practice. So I will guide you through this, and as always, take what you like, leave the rest, do it in whatever way works for you, or do something else altogether. Here is the invitation. Take a moment to notice where you are right now. Notice your physical location. What does it look like, sound like, feel like? Now notice your emotional location. How are you feeling right now? Where in your body are you holding those feelings? And then mindful of where you are both physically and emotionally, I invite you to participate in this practice in one of two ways. The first is to just stay right where you are and trace something with your finger. Perhaps you're tracing your own hand, perhaps you're tracing a shape on your leg or on your chair or on the back of the pew. Maybe you're tracing the rectangle of a hymnal. The second option is to physically move through the space where you are. You might move and travel to the edge of the room where you are, or create a zigzag pattern across the floor. You might wander up and down the aisles of the sanctuary. Whatever option you choose, let's begin the practice now, and I'll call you back in a few minutes. This is the time when we exit our labyrinth. If you haven't already, finish tracing or return to the place you started from. No worries. As we say in my house, it's already broken. As you settle back in, wherever you are, take a moment to notice again. Notice your surroundings. Notice where you are physically. Notice where you are emotionally. Hold on to the noticing and the joy. And let's remember, wherever we are, wherever we find ourselves, we are part of something bigger, something always unfolding. May you notice your space and place and your belonging here with us at First Universalist.
It is so good to be with you all today and in this space, exploring the chancel together, being grounded here. On hard days during this ministerial internship, I would come to this empty sanctuary like Jen talked about and walk through the aisles. Or I would just sit at the edge of this chancel and look out at the empty rows. I'd close all the doors and play the piano in the dark for a while. I have cried and laughed and felt profoundly connected to the divine in this space, and I have loved belonging here at First Universalist. As I wind down my time as your intern, I now come to the sanctuary to start letting go. Today is not goodbye. There will be time for that in June. But with a monthly worship theme like bridging, legacy, and letting go, it is time to reflect on what it was like to be your ministerial intern this year. To look back on the legacy that we are part of as Unitarian Universalists and the ways we transformed each other during our time together. When I first came to you in September, I came into this place with a combined 15 years of professional experience in UU churches and at the Unitarian Universalist Association. I had strong and well thought out theological convictions, and I thought I had a sketch of what a congregational internship would be like. I don't think I was quite as bad as the professor in this morning's story, but I certainly did not bring a completely empty cup to the start of this year. Yet I learned immensely from the ways you responded to me and to the events of this year, and I'd like to reflect some of that back to you. This community clearly takes pride in being a learning congregation and knows how to support and encourage ministerial interns. You expected me to be in a learning role. You responded enthusiastically to my questions. You gave me space to try and fail, and offered encouragement as I sometimes awkwardly and sometimes brilliantly figured out how to do this ministry thing. You honored me with trust in my leadership, and you came along with me as I learned what it feels like in my body to carry ministerial authority. And I learned from my time with this community that doing ministry has a direct personal cost. I learned what happens in my body and my spirit when I sacrifice my personal life for this calling. I learned that the community responds with excitement to the ministry I am offering without fully understanding the cost I am paying to pull it off. The cost this year was steep, and I need you to know with love that naming the personal cost more concretely than that would ask a level of vulnerability of me that I am not willing to risk. My body bore the weight of the mismatch between our theology of universalist love and our movement's expectations of ministers, and particularly ministers with marginalized identities. Almost every Sunday, we profess a universalist understanding of faith that names each and every one of us as whole and holy and worthy, welcome and wanted, with room to grow. We call ourselves a community of love and hope, committed to practicing beloved community, grounded in a love so inclusive and expansive and irresistible, it cannot help but transform us. These are our highest aspirations, that which we strive for but never or very rarely reach. There is a personal and spiritual cost to failing in these aspirations. You know this. I knew this coming in, and we've learned it together over and over again this year. I have been a leader in this faith and very public about my identities for long enough that I came into this internship expecting to experience a baseline of microaggression and whiteness, because that is how Unitarian Universalist communities are. This congregation met my expectations, which just means that you are roughly on par with most other UU communities, not particularly worse, but not better either. Every time I preached this year, the worship leadership staff team spent quite a bit of time trying to think through how to prevent the racialized microaggressions that might come my way afterwards. And maybe through our efforts, we were able to avoid some comments, but we sure did not prevent them. Now, if, like me, you reject the idea that microaggression and whiteness are just part of what leaders with marginalized identities sign up for when they come to this community, then it is on every Unitarian Universalist to make that culture change real. It cannot just be on leaders of color to be resilient enough to weather the harm, and it cannot be on worship planners to outplan microaggressions. My invitation is to find your role in making this church spiritually safe and fully welcoming in the way our theology demands of us, and to hold each other accountable in doing so. This is the work of our faith, and it must be a project of shared ministry. I have learned this year that shared ministry is one concrete way we practice living into the beloved community that we talk about all the time. And while it is most visible during worship or in the way we welcome one another, this ministry is in the workings of the board and in the lines of the budgets too. Both are expressions of this community's values. This church is incredibly fortunate to have a strong and committed board whose relationship to the lead minister and to the staff is healthy and supportive. And you are fortunate to have knowledgeable staff and lay leaders who are leading you towards the next fiscal year with a sense of purpose and hope. Magic happens when the vision of lay leaders and staff is backed with relationships, structures, and resources grounded in values. I saw this magic repeatedly during my internship, and one of the most clear examples was during Operation Metro Surge, when lay leaders, staff, structures, and resources made it possible for First Universalists to respond quickly to urgent and emergent needs of the community. I could tell that this church community had been through it before, whether you point to the George Floyd uprising, the COVID pandemic, or other tragedies and challenges you've found yourselves in the middle of. This community knows who you are and who Unitarian Universalist theology calls you to be. The specifics of how to show up as faithful people during the surge built upon the skills and knowledge you had developed over years, adapted and extended to meet the moment. It was incredibly powerful to witness. I hope you are proud of the many ways you showed up for each other and for your neighbors during the surge. I hope you allow that experience to transform your spirit and your way of life. I hope you continue to practice finding the next just action over and over again. I hope you continue to create more spaces for the beloved community within these walls. My internship project this year was restarting the BIPOC group. We practiced the beloved community in BIPOC-only space with food, humor, pastoral care, especially in the wake of Dr. Glenn Thomas's departure and the disproportionate impacts of Metro Surge on BIPOC community members. This ministry was life-giving for me to be part of, and I believe it was life-giving for many of the members of the group. If I could have a say in the kind of legacy I leave from my time as intern here, it would take the form of the BIPOC group's long-term thriving. And that will require the active support of every member of this community, whether by joining, by responding to the asks of the group, or by respecting that it is not a space for white people. I love and am proud of that group, and I am inviting all of you to find your role in supporting its continued existence beyond the end of my internship. In the Cummins room downstairs, there are portraits of past ministers who held and stewarded this community across generations. I look at these often during staff meetings during the week, and I imagine from that lineage the wider story of Universalism and then Unitarian Universalism that each of them was a part of, the hundreds of people and ministers that led each of the people in the portraits to First Universalist Church. When I first came here, I also brought with me hundreds of people and ancestors whose actions, example, or encouragement set me on the path to ministry. I had a clear but non-specific understanding of my place in the legacy of BIPOC ministers. In these last few months, I have been building real, deep relationships with ministers whose effort and sacrifice moved the faith closer to what it aspires to be. These are mentors and colleagues who have wrapped me up in the love and the legacy of BIPOC Unitarian Universalist leaders, both as a spiritual concept and as a relational reality. It is one of the great joys of my life. I wish that joy for you, if you don't have access to it already. I wish for you all a soul-deep knowing of belonging to a legacy of Unitarian Universalists who came before, and a commitment to those who will come after. I wish for you clarity in who you are called to be and the structures and resources to get there. I wish for you a sense of love and pride in who you are. You are the breath of our ancestors, the Spirit of God. You are a community that has transformed me. You are people I will carry with me for the rest of my ministry, and it is a privilege to do so. Thank you. We are a community that has some things to invite you to. First is a continuation of music and joy with some summer piano recitals to benefit community organizations. There's information on this slide and in the Liberal. The second invitation is after church next Sunday at noon in room 209, an info session to support trans refugees. Come build a team to welcome our transplants all across the country. Trans people are facing forms of state violence and oppression. This is a way to learn how to support people who are coming here and be hosts to them as they find safety in our community. It is time to move out of this space into whatever is next for you in your Sunday, to move from the worshipful moment we have created together Beloveds, may you have what you need. May you know you are held. May you know belonging here at First Universalist. May you know abundance and joy for whatever is next. Be well. May it be so.